When we explore the psychology of older women, one of the most surprising truths is how their priorities in relationships evolve over time. In youth, relationships are often colored by attraction, excitement, and sometimes even a subconscious desire for material security. Younger women, influenced by societal norms and cultural conditioning, may place high importance on physical appearance, social status, financial wealth, or external symbols of success. But with maturity comes a striking shift. Older women begin to prioritize emotional intelligence, empathy, and respect far more than material possessions or superficial traits. They realize that money can provide comfort, but it cannot buy peace, trust, or genuine connection. This shift is not only shocking to those who still believe stereotypes about women being materialistic, but it also carries profound lessons for anyone trying to understand the deeper psychology of human connection. This transformation occurs because experience teaches them what truly sustains a relationship in the long run. An older woman has likely lived through stages of infatuation, romance, and possibly disappointment. She may have witnessed firsthand that a partner who is financially wealthy but emotionally unavailable cannot create happiness. She may have endured situations where material comfort existed, but love, respect, or support were missing. These life lessons reshape her priorities. She now values the partner who listens, who understands, who shows kindness, and who can communicate honestly. Emotional intelligence becomes her standard of attraction because she knows it is the foundation of stability. Wealth may build a house, but emotional depth builds a home. Another reason for this shift is self-assurance. As women age, their sense of self-worth strengthens. They are less likely to tolerate disrespect or emotional neglect. In younger years, many women might compromise, thinking financial security makes up for lack of emotional fulfillment. But older women learn that no amount of money can heal a broken heart or replace the joy of feeling truly seen and valued. Their confidence allows them to demand what they deserve, and what they demand most is respect, understanding, and emotional safety. This realization shocks many men who assume that money alone is enough to keep a woman's interest. The truth is, for a mature woman, wealth without emotional presence feels empty. This prioritization of emotional intelligence also reflects a deeper understanding of life's fragility. With age, women see that time is precious and fleeting. They no longer want to waste years in relationships that drain them emotionally. Instead, they seek companionship that uplifts them, conversations that nourish their minds, and connections that comfort their souls. A partner's ability to empathize, to support in difficult times, and to share vulnerabilities becomes far more valuable than any external success. This is not only shocking but also profoundly liberating. It shows that maturity brings freedom from illusions. Older women also develop sharper insight into human behavior, and this strengthens their ability to detect emotional intelligence. They can quickly sense when someone is pretending to care or offering superficial attention. They can distinguish between genuine kindness and performative gestures. Their intuition, sharpened by years of experience, helps them see beyond appearances. This makes them more selective in relationships and less likely to fall for empty promises. In many ways, emotional intelligence becomes their currency of trust. They invest their time and energy only in those who show emotional maturity, because they understand that is the only wealth that does not lose value. This psychological shift has another fascinating impact. It changes the way older women view attraction. Instead of being dazzled by luxury, they are drawn to qualities like patience, humor, understanding, and loyalty. They find beauty in the way a partner listens attentively, supports without judgment, and respects boundaries. For them, romance is no longer about grand gestures, but about consistent effort and emotional availability. That realization surprises younger people who often chase glamorous ideals, but it reflects the wisdom of someone who has learned that real love is quiet, steady, and deeply human. Another shocking element is how this shift affects their independence. Older women are less dependent on others for financial security, either because they have built their own stability or because they have learned to live with less while still finding joy. This independence makes them less susceptible to being controlled or manipulated by wealth. They know their worth, and they no longer measure it against what someone else can provide materially. This self-sufficiency gives them the power to choose partners based on emotional compatibility rather than financial necessity. In doing so, they rewrite the narrative of love as something based not on transactions but on mutual respect and shared humanity. This prioritization of emotional intelligence also redefines what they teach the next generation. Older women often mentor or advise younger ones, warning them against the illusion that money equals happiness. They share stories, wisdom, and insights that emphasize the importance of choosing a partner who listens, cares, and supports. This becomes part of their legacy, the ability to pass down lessons learned the hard way, helping others avoid the same mistakes. Their shocking truth becomes a gift to those willing to listen, that emotional depth sustains relationships far longer than material wealth ever can. The power of this psychological evolution also influences how they approach conflicts. Because they value emotional intelligence, older women are more interested in resolving disagreements with understanding rather than winning arguments. They prefer communication over silence, empathy over pride. They know that harmony comes not from dominance, but from cooperation. This emotional wisdom transforms not only their romantic relationships, but also their friendships, family dynamics, and professional lives. It is shocking to witness how much calmer, wiser, and more centered they become as they prioritize emotional connection over competition or material comparison. At its heart, this shocking fact about older women teaches us that maturity strips away illusions and reveals what truly matters. It shows us that wealth, status, and possessions are temporary, but emotional intelligence, empathy, and love are timeless. An older woman becomes a mirror of this truth. She embodies the lesson that life is not about accumulating things, but about cultivating connections. She demonstrates that the richest life is not measured in money, but in moments of genuine understanding and compassion. So, the next time someone assumes that women only value material wealth, remember this hidden reality. With age, women redefine love, respect, and partnership. They prioritize emotional depth because they know it is the only thing that endures. And that shift, though shocking to some, is profoundly inspiring. It reminds us all to stop chasing illusions and start seeking what truly matters. The kind of connection that enriches the soul long after material possessions fade. Confidence is one of the most underestimated psychological treasures that a woman develops with age, and it often surprises those who never expected it to bloom in the later years of life. In youth, women are frequently pressured by society to look a certain way, behave a certain way, and live up to endless standards that constantly shift. Many younger women are caught in cycles of comparison, self-doubt, and a desperate need to be validated by others. They worry about whether they are pretty enough, smart enough, or successful enough. But with the passing of years, something begins to change deeply within. As life experiences pile up, struggles are overcome, and battles are fought and won, an older woman realizes that her worth has nothing to do with the approval of others. Instead, she begins to see that her value comes from who she is, not what others think of her. This awakening is what creates a second peak of confidence, often stronger than the first. This kind of confidence is not loud or boastful. It is not about showing off achievements or trying to prove superiority. It is a quiet, unshakable belief in oneself that comes from having lived through storms and survived them. An older woman has already experienced heartbreak, disappointment, and rejection, yet she stands taller because those very challenges sculpted her resilience. She no longer looks in the mirror searching for flaws, but instead sees the story of her survival written on her face. Each wrinkle, each scar, each change in her body becomes a reminder of her journey, not a flaw to be hidden. That level of self-acceptance is shocking to many because society tries to convince women that aging is something to fear. But in reality, aging often frees them. It frees them from illusions, from shallow pursuits, and from the chains of needing to meet everyone else's expectations. Psychology explains this as a shift from external validation to internal validation. When younger, many women base their sense of self on how others perceive them, compliments, attention, or societal approval. But as they grow older, they begin to trust their own judgment more than the opinions of others. They start asking themselves, am I happy with who I am? Am I proud of my choices? instead of "do others think I'm good enough?" This inner validation is the foundation of lasting confidence, and once it takes root, it cannot be shaken easily. That is why older women walk into a room differently. They don't try to shrink themselves or beg for attention. Their energy speaks for itself. Another fascinating layer of this confidence is the courage to say no. Younger women often struggle with people pleasing because they are afraid of rejection or conflict. But as a woman matures, she realizes that saying no is an act of self-respect. She learns that boundaries are not selfish but essential for mental health. This ability to stand firm and protect her energy is one of the most powerful forms of confidence. It tells the world, "I know my worth, and I will not compromise it for temporary acceptance." Imagine how liberating that must feel after years of bending to please everyone else. That kind of confidence makes an older woman unshakable because she is no longer afraid of losing people who do not truly value her. Confidence in older women also reveals itself in their independence. Many no longer feel the pressure to define themselves through relationships, status, or material possessions. They have seen enough of life to understand that happiness does not come from external factors but from within. This makes them less desperate, less clingy, and more grounded. They know they can stand alone, and that knowledge gives them a powerful presence. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate security and self-assurance, and older women often become the anchors in families, communities, and workplaces because of this trait. One shocking truth about this phase of confidence is that it often makes older women more attractive, not less. While society glorifies youth, what truly captivates people on a deeper level is authenticity. When a woman is confident in her skin, when she no longer apologizes for who she is, that confidence shines brighter than any physical beauty. People sense it in her voice, in her posture, in the way she carries herself. It is magnetic because true confidence cannot be faked. It must be earned through time, lessons, and growth. That is why many older women, even without trying, become sources of inspiration for younger ones who still battle with insecurity. This second peak of confidence also leads to fearlessness in pursuing dreams. Many older women begin new careers, start businesses, or explore passions they ignored in youth. Why? Because they no longer fear failure. They understand that life is too short to be wasted on hesitation, and that it is better to try and stumble than to live with regret. That kind of courage only comes when confidence has matured through experience. It is shocking to see someone in their 40s, 50s, or 60s stepping into new chapters with more energy than someone half their age. But it happens because they are finally free of self-doubt. Another dimension of this confidence is emotional stability. Older women often become calmer, less reactive, and more centered. They no longer feel the need to argue with everyone or prove their point constantly. Their confidence allows them to listen without insecurity and to respond with wisdom instead of defensiveness. This emotional maturity creates harmony in their relationships and makes them the kind of people others turn to for advice and comfort. They radiate a sense of peace that comes only from knowing oneself fully. At its core, this shocking rise of confidence in older women teaches us an important lesson. Confidence is not about youth, appearance, or status. It is about knowing who you are, accepting where you have been, and trusting where you are going. Older women embody this truth, and their example shatters the stereotype that beauty and power belong only to the young. In fact, they show us that the most powerful stage of life may come later, when you stop chasing approval and start embracing authenticity. If you truly want to understand confidence, look at an older woman who has survived, grown, and thrived. She will teach you that real confidence is not built in your 20s when everything seems perfect, but in your 40s, 50s, and beyond, when you have weathered storms and still choose to rise. That is why their confidence is not just shocking, it is inspiring, educational, and deeply transformational. Why there is a beauty in understanding the psychology of older women that often goes unnoticed in a world obsessed with youth. Many people assume that aging is the decline of energy, passion, and attractiveness. But what research and psychology consistently reveal is quite the opposite. Older women often step into their most powerful, liberated, and self-assured phase of life. And if you really want to understand growth, resilience, and emotional mastery, you need to look closely at the hidden layers of their psychology. One shocking fact is how confidence tends to bloom later in life. Younger years may be filled with doubt, comparison, and the pressure to prove oneself. But as women grow older, they often step out of that cycle and step into a deeper sense of self-worth. They stop needing validation from others, and this makes them magnetic in a different way, no longer chasing but choosing. That shift alone is a lesson for all of us. Confidence is not about age. It's about alignment with your true self. Another powerful truth is how priorities change with maturity. Older women begin to value emotional connection, intelligence, and respect over superficial qualities. They understand that material possessions fade, but character and kindness stay. This gives them the ability to build bonds that are far more fulfilling, and it teaches us that the depth of love is never measured in what you have, but in who you are. One of the most fascinating and shocking psychological truths about older women is the sharpness of their intuition. Intuition is often described as a gut feeling, a quiet inner voice, or a deep sense of knowing without needing logical proof. For younger people, intuition may feel fleeting, uncertain, or easy to ignore. But as women grow older, this natural ability becomes sharper, more refined, and far more reliable. The reason for this lies in both biology and psychology. With years of experience, observation, and emotional learning, older women develop an almost uncanny ability to read people, detect dishonesty, and understand hidden emotions. This ability is not magic. It is the result of countless interactions, challenges, and lessons that have trained their subconscious minds to pick up on subtle cues that others often miss. From a psychological perspective, every experience a woman goes through leaves an imprint on her memory. Each conversation, each heartbreak, each betrayal, and each moment of joy becomes stored as emotional data. While younger individuals may not have enough experiences to draw patterns from, older women accumulate decades of patterns, behaviors, and outcomes. Over time, their brains become incredibly skilled at connecting dots quickly, often before they consciously realize it. This is why older women can walk into a room, meet someone for the first time, and instantly sense their energy, motives, or character. Their intuition has been sharpened through trial and error, and because of that, it is rarely wrong. What shocks many people is how subtle their intuition feels, yet how powerful it is in guiding decisions. An older woman may not always explain logically why she doesn't trust someone or why she feels a certain way, but her instincts usually prove correct later. This can be unsettling for others who underestimate her awareness. She may notice a slight change in tone, a brief flicker of the eyes, or a hesitation in words, all signals that most overlook but her intuition catches. Years of observing human behavior fine-tune her awareness of these micro-expressions and emotional shifts. Her mind is like a radar that picks up frequencies beyond what logic alone can detect. Another fascinating aspect of this sharpened intuition is how it protects her emotionally. Older women are far less likely to fall into the same traps they once did in youth. They recognize red flags in relationships faster, they sense insincerity more quickly, and they trust their gut feelings without doubting themselves as much. This self-trust is key because intuition is only powerful when you believe in it. Younger women might sense something is wrong but second-guess themselves, allowing others to manipulate or deceive them. But an older woman, having lived through consequences of ignoring her instincts, chooses to honor her inner voice. This not only saves her from unnecessary pain, but also empowers her to make decisions that protect her peace and well-being. This heightened intuition also plays a role in leadership and mentorship. Older women often become role models and guides for younger generations because they can see beyond surface-level problems. When someone comes to them for advice, they don't just hear the words being spoken. They read the unspoken emotions behind them. They notice the fear, the hesitation, the hidden desires, and the unexpressed truths. This allows them to give guidance that feels deeply personal and accurate. Many younger people are shocked at how an older woman can just know what they are feeling or thinking without being told. But again, this is the gift of years of emotional experience turning into wisdom. It is also important to understand that intuition in older women is not just about relationships or emotions. It extends into all areas of life. in careers, they sense opportunities or dangers before others. In social situations, they detect dynamics that others overlook. In families, they feel shifts in harmony or conflict before it even surfaces. This makes them anchors in their communities because people trust their instincts. Their intuition becomes a form of psychological power, giving them an advantage in decision making and problem solving. What makes this shocking is how undervalued intuition often is in modern society. People tend to glorify logic, data, and external proof, while dismissing inner knowing as irrational. Yet research in psychology supports the idea that intuition is real and reliable, especially when built on experience. For older women, their subconscious minds are libraries of lived experiences, making their intuitive insights far more informed than random guesses. When they trust this knowledge, it often leads to better outcomes than relying solely on logic. Another dimension of this sharp intuition is the connection between emotion and empathy. Older women not only sense what is happening but also feel it deeply. Their life experiences teach them compassion, and that compassion amplifies their ability to tune into others. They can step into another person's shoes with ease, feeling what they feel, and therefore predicting how they will act. This makes them emotionally intelligent and empathetic leaders, friends, and partners. Their intuition is not cold or detached, it is warm, human, and rooted in understanding. What is equally shocking is how this intuition can appear almost supernatural to others. Some may describe it as a sixth sense or even spiritual insight, but the truth is, it is psychology at its peak. Decades of observation stored in the subconscious, processed faster than the conscious mind can analyze. That is why older women may not always explain logically why they feel a certain way, but their inner knowing often proves correct. People who ignore this sometimes later realize that she had seen the truth long before they did. For younger women and men alike, this sharp intuition of older women holds a lesson: never underestimate the wisdom of experience. Books and theories can teach knowledge, but life teaches awareness. An older woman embodies this truth because she has not only read about emotions, but she has lived through them. Her intuition is the sum of every smile, every tear, every betrayal, and every triumph. That is why it is powerful. It is earned, not gifted. This sharpened intuition also liberates older women from fear. They trust themselves so much that they no longer feel paralyzed by doubt. They can make decisions quickly, cut off toxic connections without guilt, and embrace opportunities with courage. Their inner compass points them in the right direction, and they follow it boldly. This level of trust in one's intuition is rare in youth, but it becomes a defining strength in maturity. In the end, the shocking truth about older women is that their intuition is not a vague hunch, but a highly refined psychological tool. It protects them, empowers them, and guides them toward authentic living. It gives them the ability to navigate life with clarity and strength. And for those who pay attention, it serves as a reminder that true wisdom is not about having all the answers, but about listening to the quiet voice within. Older women show us that intuition, when honored and trusted, is one of the most powerful forms of intelligence a human being